Back once again for the renegade master. 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 Back once again for the renegade master.
Hello my renegades and welcome back, and we are back into Married at First Sight Australia. We are on series 11 and we are now on episode 29. It is Confessions of the Couch, following on from the last dinner party. But before we get into this episode, as I always ask, please hit that subscribe button, please hit that notification button so when you know I'm on and doing videos. As I always, like, comment, share, do your thing, because I am on the road to 1k. Right, let's get into this episode. So it does show a bit of Jade and the fact that she's not saying that she is in love yet, but she's feeling very comfortable with Ridge. We get to Tim and Sarah and they're both feeling good, and all I will ask is, nobody's asked the question of what happens with the ex now. Is she fully done with that relationship? That's all I want to hear. She says she's sincerely sorry, but she can't make any more excuses in regards to the behaviour that has happened. I think Tim and Sarah need the opportunity to move on past this situation now to see where it is that they can get to. But that is the biggest question that I still have, is where is the ex now? Is he still a picture in Sarah's life at the end of the day? Does she expect to keep continuing to work on this with Tim, and is Tim in the knowledge that, you know, this ex will still be a friend or someone that will continually be in Sarah's life if they continue down the road of marriage? So then we get to Tori and Jack, and actually they're kind of a little apprehensive going on the sofa tonight because they literally want to glide through. They don't want to have their relationship under the microscope anymore. Tori doesn't really want to talk about the fact that, you know, they haven't hit the skins yet. I really think it's starting to piss her off. She says that it's becoming boring and she won't answer any more questions about it because she's over it. I don't think she's over it in the slightest. I think she doesn't want to ask any more questions about it because she doesn't want to hear the absolute truth that her husband is not sexually attracted to her. That's what she don't want to hear, because at the end of the day, at this point, majority of them, excluding bloody Tim and Lucinda, because the situation is completely different with them, have hit the skins with their partners at some point. They have done that. It's quite telling that these two haven't yet. They want to pick themselves as the strongest marriage within the group at the end of the day. So, as again, I will keep saying that Tori has too much to lose within this experiment. She is not leaving here without a husband, and she's set her sights on Jack. I don't know why, because Jack is a dickhead. But hey ho, as I keep saying, they need to really leave this couple alone. Just let them do what they're going to do, because they really don't give a shit what anybody else says. They're always going to catch the heat. It's just going to be par for the course for these two. So the situation arose between Jaden and Eden. She don't want to talk to him at all, because Eden decided after how long to share with Jaden that Sarah and her ex, when they met up, were mocking Tim. And I'm like, Eden knows the shit that went down between her and Jaden when Jaden was a witness to the text messages between her and Sarah going out with the ex and behind Tim's back, and Tim not knowing about it and Sarah lying about where she'd been. She knew how Jaden reacted to that. So why would you then wait to then offload this fucking tidbit to him now at the end of the day? Because sometimes I think when Eden knows something, as she always keeps saying, she gets hella anxious about it. Her anxiety creeps up, so she offloads to Jaden, knowing full well how Jaden already feels about Sarah and the situation there. So this was not gonna make it any better, because Jaden specifically wants to bring this shit up. So it was wrong, and I am going to say it was wrong of Eden then to turn around and give this man an ultimatum. As if to say, well, if you bring this up and if you don't say, because Jaden does say it on the couch, if you don't say what I've asked you to say and you do not bring this up, then I don't want to be an experiment anymore. I don't want to be married to you anymore. That's me paraphrasing, but that's the junks of the ultimatum. And I thought that was hella rude and hella wrong of Eden to do, because at the end of the day, Jaden's his own person. Because my thought is, why would you share this information with him if you did not want it to go anywhere else? Knowing full well how Jaden reacted the first time you gave him the information about Tim and Sarah. Not a good move on Eden's part, and not a fucking good move on Eden's part. And then it's the fact of it is that she won't apologise for what she said. She won't necessarily listen to what it is that Jaden is saying and how it's making him feel. So she doesn't validate his feelings in the slightest, and then just literally wants to be the person that she is the victim in all of this, that she feels so anxiously ridden that he's causing this situation. Well, it's not. She's caused the situation, because at the end of the day, you could have just kept your mouth shut. You didn't have to tell him. You did not have to tell him. So then we go to couch time. And John basically goes straight in and says to people, this week you ain't having the luxury of hiding from nothing at all, because people have been plain sailing too much in here. So now it's time to open up the gates, open up the barrier. We shall see who does that. We shall see who does that. So then the first couple up is Sarah and Tim, and they want to know where they're at. Tim says the last couch session was an absolute miserable couch session, and we already know why. So Tim wanted to be open, and he's let Sarah know that he wants her to make it up to him, basically. She turns around, he says that she's been warm, affectionate and appreciative of him. I kind of think it's a pattern of Sarah, to be fair, because she's done it in the past, where she's done something wrong and she's been called out on it, then she will try and change and be this warm person that I don't necessarily think she is. I think she's this warm person to the right person. I don't necessarily think that Tim is the right person for her, but hey ho, we'll continue. So basically, she does turn around and heartfeltly apologises to Tim on the couch and admits that she did have feelings for her ex. And I'm like, hold on. When she was asked that question directly on the last Confessions of the Couch, yeah, she turned around and she said she had no feelings for him, but they were just friends. But now she's readily admitting that she's had feelings for her ex. You don't switch off feelings for your ex like that. And if she's been on and off with this man for over 6 years, then yeah, there's still those feelings there. And this is why I asked the question at the beginning, what happens to her ex after all of this? Do I believe Sarah and her intentions? I don't rightly know. Tim is completely sold on Sarah and what she's saying and what she's showing right now. Jaden really does want to quit, and you see him piping at the bit, but then also Jaden is in a catch-22 situation with Eden and the ultimatum that she's provided to him. So it got too much for Jaden. It did. It got too much for Jaden, so he does end up speaking up and says to Sarah that he sees right through it. Eden is quiet. She's holding on to his hand like a fucking limpet to a branch, man. She's like literally holding on to his hand quite tight. So Jaden calls out what he heard in the fact that Sarah and her ex were making fun of Tim. Now, Sarah point blank said that this information was not true. And I'm like, the only way this information would have come to Jaden is through Eden. So right now, Eden was crickets, like absolute crickets. So Sarah's completely denying what's been said. So Jaden basically turned around and says, well, this is what Eden said to me. Eden did not have Jaden's back at all. She threw him under that fucking bus and backed over him, beeping all the fucking way, and rolled over him again. He was a speed bump that she took out, basically. She took him out. And she denied it to the hilt. She basically said that she did not have the full details, so she didn't know if it was right or not, the information was true or not. So Jaden basically turned around and said to her, well, if you don't have the full details, then what? It wasn't worth you bringing it up to me. And I'm like, exactly, why and this is what I said. All Eden wanted to do was offload her anxiety onto the nearest person to her, which was Jaden. She could have phoned a friend. Do you know what I mean? And offloaded that, and knew that wouldn't have come back from anywhere, but she didn't. She told Jaden. So everybody was looking shocked as hell. Eden then turned to him and said, there is no point saying it as there is no proof. And I thought, my girl, did you really fix your lips and say that and turn that to your husband in front of all these people here on these in these Confessions of the Couch Babes? You fixed your lips and said that to Jaden. And I said, this is another situation. You give him information, he's sharing that information, and now you want to tell this man that he's wrong. He's wrong when you were the one that fed him that information. So I was like, yeah. Next time you hear information, Jaden, keep that shit to yourself. Don't put it out there at the end of the day, because your wife just threw you under the motherfucking bus and made you look like you were the problem and not herself at the end of the day. Eden said that she just literally just didn't want to be a part of it anymore. Eden looked so uncomfortable, and this is what I meant about don't share the information if you're not ready for the consequences of the information that's being shared. So everybody then kind of started getting at Jaden, and I'm kind of like, people will end up saying Jaden should have read the room, Jaden should have done X, Y, and Z. No. What should have happened is Eden shouldn't have shared that information with Jaden, knowing full well that Jaden is the type of person where he will open his mouth, he will ask questions later, he will open his mouth and say what needs to be said at the end of the day. This is reality TV. Did you expect anything different? So everybody, like, on hearing that information, is now trying to big up Tim and Sarah on where they are. John is basically saying we have two people that are basically trying to get along, and the others are all backing Tim and Sarah. Again, blaming Jaden, and I'm like, you can't blame Jaden for the situation, because Eden was the one that supplied him with that information. If she didn't want it to come out, then she should have kept her mouth shut, but she didn't. So they made the decision to stay. And then when you see Sarah and Tim going back to their chairs, you see Eden move away from Jaden. Jaden looks completely hurt by the situation that he was placed in via Eden at the end of the day. I think there's some points where Jaden does need to pick his battles quite carefully and not always jump into the melee straight away, and make sure he has the facts first as it is before he opens his mouth, because this is emotive, and Jaden gives off emotive energy. That's what he does. So the next couple up was Lucinda and Tim. Again, they look happy with each other. Again, I don't think Tim is the one for Lucinda at all. They do talk about the kiss that they had, and Tim said that it felt right at the time, so he did it. And so then he admits that he had been closed off, and he realised that at 51 years old, he'd never let anyone in, and it got the best of him, and that's why he walked away from the table. I still think if somebody else was on that level for Tim, he would be all over it like white on rice. To be fair, he really would. He wouldn't think nothing about no emotionalness or anything like this. It would be pure physicality on Tim's part. I think Lucinda is good for him, and I really think that he can learn a lot of things from her. So Alessandria, one of the experts, does explain her culture of the men in Colombia is quite similar to those of the men in Australia, where it's much in the same, where they're not very vulnerable and they find it hard to show their emotions. And I could say that's quite for few men within certain cultures, to be fair, not just in the Colombian or within Australia. There's quite a few men that are like that. But as she said, there is a superpower in being vulnerable, and she is absolutely right. Sometimes, as I said, I think that Lucinda is doing all this work with Tim, but it will be for someone else to benefit from, because I really don't see it happening for them at all. Their decision was to stay. So the next couple up was Jono. He was by himself. He says Lauren is out of hospital. She's at home resting. He's missing her, and they're keeping in touch every day. His decision was to stay, and the experts said that they could categorically tell him that Lauren's decision was to stay as well. Next couple up was Cass and Tristan. They're a little bit more subdued. and they wanted to know what's changed for them. And basically, when Cassandra did write the leave, it set Tristan completely back that whole week, which I knew it would do. And he didn't do the work that he needed to have done to actually say that there is something there that he'd want to try on with Cassandra. So basically, they both got their closure within that week to say, do you know what, we'll be better off as staying as friends. So they did both write leave on the card. Tristan basically would like the prospect to reconnect with Cassandra again in the future if they can do. So we do say goodbye to Cassandra and Tristan, and I knew it was going to come, because Tristan needs to work on himself. He really does. He needs to work on himself. I don't think he should have been accepted onto a show like that, because he had too many issues that he really did need to work on before he tried to at least see if he's at a stage where he can be emotionally available and physically available to a point to the partner that he's with. So the next couple is Eden and Jaden. Didn't go well for them at all on the couch. Didn't go well for them at all. Feedback week wasn't a challenge for them. But Jaden feels right now that he's constantly talking. Eden feels pressure and gets really anxious, and he's coping through the brunt of how she feels, because she then puts that all on him, and he's just doesn't know whether he's coming or going right now. And he even turns around and he says he doesn't know whether he's with his person or the right person. It shocked the hell out of everybody. I kind of wasn't shocked by it. I really wasn't shocked by it, because there was going to come a time that these two were going to hit a brick wall somewhere, because not everybody is perfect and not every relationship is perfect at the end of the day, because they started off like 100 miles a minute at first in the beginning, but when it comes to day-to-day mundane stuff that they have to do with each other as husband and wife, especially as the fact that they're living in each other's pockets 24 motherfucking 7 at the end of the day with no release, something's going to happen. So Jaden did speak up and told them about the ultimatum that Eden made towards him, and Sarah was like, what? And I thought, yes, you and me both, love. You and me both, because I think ultimatums are absolutely disgusting, and the one that Eden gave to Jaden was out of the fucking park. So basically, it didn't sit right with Jaden, and I said that an ultimatum wouldn't sit right with Jaden, because he's not one of those guys that plays when it comes to ultimatums. So the experts were glad that that Jaden had actually brought this up to the forefront. So I thought they better have some questions for Eden then, which they did. So she turned around and said that she was scared and anxious. And I'm kind of like, we understand that you get scared. We understand that Eden gets anxious. But at the end of the day, you can't use that as a whole excuse for you acting in the way that you did towards Jaden. You gave him information knowing full well that that information would not stay with Jaden. He was going to say something. And then on top of that, you lambasted him with a fucking ultimatum that was wholly disgusting, to be honest with you. She's trying to say that she didn't make that ultimatum in the way that Jaden meant it, and basically she didn't say that she wanted to walk away from him or the experiment. She just was wanting to need that space. I'm just like, no matter how you meant it, yeah, it's an ultimatum, so you automatically Eden put Jaden in a fucking shitty position. So Jaden talks about how Eden is struggling and he's trying, but Eden is not reciprocating his energy. And you hear Tori and Jack talking about, oh my God, it's just all about cracks with them two at the end of the day. And I'm kind of like, you two need to shut your mouth, because there's lots of cracks within your own marriage, but you two really want to just gloss over that. At the end of the day, at least Jaden and Eden are speaking about the situations that's happening behind closed doors in their marriage at the end of the day, because they're one of these couples that will plant a freaking happy face on everything, but won't show everybody what's going on. Whereas it's more so Jaden that will probably speak about the emotional angst he's going through, but Eden will be one of these ones where she spoke about it, let's gloss over it, move on to the next, not realizing, no, your husband and your household is still impacted upon the situation that's happened. So it's going to take some time to come out of that before you can actually move on to the next subject. And we see this when it comes to the homestays with Eden. So Jaden turns around and said that he was upset to a point where he's done so much, where he's showing her that his appreciation of her. He's done little this, he's done took her out, he's done little gifts, and he's basically saying that he's doing so much for someone who doesn't appreciate him and his efforts. And he turns around and he said that Eden then said to him, why don't you do something nice for me for once in your life? And sometimes I just can't with these people. After everything that Jaden's listed that he's been doing for Eden, and that's what she comes off with because she was upset by him. She turns around and she sits on that couch and she says how sorry she is. And at the end of the day, I just kind of think to myself, you can say how sorry you are in front of all of these people because it's now been brought to the light, but the proof is in the pudding at the end of the day. Words without actions mean nothing, so it's going to be all the actions on Eden's part and how she's going to rectify this now with Jaden and try and change this trajectory that their relationship is going into. Basically, it got to the point where Jaden said that, as I already mentioned, that he didn't know whether Eden was his person, and even Tori cried at that because it was sad to see. It was literally sad to see because he looked so despondent on that couch, and Eden was even crying herself. But I'm like, well, it's time for changes to be made at the end of the day. So their decision was to stay, but the experts did tell them that it's their time to work on it now. But this is what I'm saying. Yes, it's their time to work on it, and yes, you expect them to do X, Y, and Z. But I think with most of the couples that I've seen on these shows, they need more support and bridges in order to shore up the relationship or the marriage than what the experts can give them. Like, seriously, I think that there's more that could be done in order to put them on the right trajectory, like couples counselling, stuff like that. They do none of that, but they expect these newbie couples to fucking deal with this shit in a quick space of time, basically. So then the next couple up was Jade and Rich. Again, I don't see them hitting no stumbling blocks yet, so we don't know how they're going to work through those. For Rich, he says it's getting serious, but he always has got to start thinking on the fact that, Jade comes as a package. She does not come by herself. They were to stay. Then we get to Jack and Tori. Okay, so this is where they get pulled to task on this. John was not playing, so John talked to Jack about his indiscretions and said that they're not going to go there now. What he's interested in is what is going on in their relationship, as they're becoming bored. Like, open up, what's going on? How does Jack feel about Tori? As John is not buying it, and I'm like, neither are we, John. We are not. Tori looking at John like she wants to get up off the couch and pop this man in his mouth, and I'm like, no, these questions need to be asked because you need to sit here and listen to what it is that your man is saying, and if he is capable of telling you the truth in your face in front of everybody else, as he does outside of your marriage behind your rotted back. So again, of course, we see Jack become flippant. He likes her a lot, developing serious feelings, and I'm kind of like, when you say developing serious feelings, what the hell does that mean? He says she makes him feel good, and I'm like, that's just a lukewarm feeling for me, Jack. Come on, you're gonna make it better. She's gonna make Jack feel more than good, because that's all he ever comes up with. Tori makes me feel good. John says, don't give me the feel good thing, and Jack looks stunned. I think all of us look stunned. I couldn't speak myself. So he has told Tori a few times how he feels, and the fact that he said he's been sleeping really well. I was like, what? Huh? Come, will that back again? Tori makes you sleep well, so she's a sleeping pill for you? I thought he made us sound like a damn feelings dog. And I was sitting there thinking, Tori, you're listening to this. This is what this man is deducing you to, a fucking sleeping aid. You make him sleep good. And still nothing. So John turns around and says, so hold on a sec. You don't feel special, you don't feel like he's tired, but you sleep well at night. That would be a hell no for me. That would be a hell no for me. But of course, you know, Tori's going to practice what she's going to say. And she's basically not going to go against what Jack is saying. So Tori says she feels he can do better than that. Oh, Jack again. It's like, no, I like her a lot. We know this, Jack. We know you say you like her a lot, but, you know. So John goes in again. As Tori's not catching no clues with Jack at all. So John turns around and says to Jack, right, so I'm not sure about what you're saying, Jack, at the end of the day, and it worries me. If I don't understand where you stand with Tori, then Tori ain't gonna understand about how you feel about her. So I'm just like, at this point, Tori co-signs everything this man does. She co-signs everything. So John turns to one of the experts now and says, if you were to ask your husband what he feels about you, what would he say? And so men, of course, turns around and said, what is needed to be said. She would say that, you know, I'm this for him, I'm that for him, I'm his peace, I'm his one, da 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 da. And Tori looks at her lap and Jack looks red as per fucking usual as Mel is talking. So again, Jack says he is struggling to describe how he feels. And I'm like, why is that, Jack? Why are you struggling? Because everybody else that they ask will be able to give that they highly respect the person. That she's the one, she makes me feel this, he makes me feel that, but you can't do that for Tori. You really can't do that for Tori. So then they go back to the dinner party and John asked Jade, what was it again that Jack said to you? So Jade let it out. That if it was more Jack's type, he would have slept with them by now. So John asked Jack, well, what does that mean? And then Jack with the excuses, it's not that clean cut. And I'm like, it is that clean cut, my guy, because if it wasn't Tori and it was someone like Jade that you were matched with, you'd be on that girl like no business. Why is it not the same for Tori? So it is that clean cut. So John asked Jack point blank, why is Tori not your type? Jack answers, she is my type. I said, no, she's not your type, my guy. Jade said, if I was in Tori's position, I would feel like my partner didn't like me. Tori just looks at Jade because at the end of the day, Tori cannot back upon Jade to be fair. She can't push Jade back because Jack has already agreed that what Jade said, what he had said to Jade, was correct. So she can't push Jade back like she can the others. She can't do it, and she knows it. She said, and I'm just like, at this point, they're flogging a dead horse with these two. Like, seriously. They don't want to hear it. They're as stubborn as each other. They're gonna stick their fucking heels in. Leave them to it, because they believe everybody is talking bullshit because everybody is jealous about their relationship. That's what they honestly and truly believe. So they asked Tori how she felt about Jack's answer, and Tori said fair enough, and this is what I mean, leave them to it. So again, Tori backs Jack. And even John asked Tori, is she for real? And Tori says, what, you asking me if I'm for real? She says, yeah. Are you for real? She says, yeah. Says, Tori don't care. And so they said, how can you not accept his wrongdoings but don't hold them against him? And that's how I saw it. Because Tori in essence is going off where he's done X, Y, and Z. Yeah, I don't accept him, but this is not the person who he is. She don't hold them against him. So I don't understand how you can accept wrongdoings but don't hold them against him, because at the end of the day, the shit that he said, you would have to hold against him and see that as part of his character, because she's trying to say that it's not who Jack is, but he is. I says, no amount of talking is going to make this girl move. No amount of talking is going to change her mind on this man. She's set her lot in with this man, so just leave her be at the end of the day. She wants to live in ignorance. Let her live in ignorance, because Jack is loving the fact that he's got this woman on a fucking line, basically. Hook, line and motherfucking sinker. He smiles every time she backs him, because it's in the face of all these experts and all these other people saying that this man is wrong for you, but she don't want to see it. So basically Tori is said that she is ready to have sex, but she doesn't want to do it. And she doesn't want to give anyone the satisfaction. And I'm like, what about your satisfaction, my girl? She's pissed about it coming up every single week. So John explains to her why it does come up every single week, because he all suggests that Jack is not attracted to you. Again, they call out that Jack is quite cruel in his terminologies and the things that he says. Tori sees a future with Jack, and they ask her why. And I'm just like, it's a waste of time asking her why, because I believe, in my humble opinion, that because Tori's mean too. They have the same temperament. They really do. They really don't give a shit what anybody else does. As I keep saying, they're as stubborn as each other, and they're going to keep digging their heels in. Every time they get a negative, they're going to fucking spin it to a positive. So talking to these two is like talking to a motherfucking actual brick wall. Like, seriously brick wall. So their decision was to stay. Next couple up was Richard and Andrea. Not much more I can say about those two. There was nothing particularly too salvage. When Andrea turned around and tried to talk about her feelings, Richard then tried to say that's not an accurate description of them at all. Again, neither one of them listened to each other on that couch, to be fair. They are both in the wrong in how they handled each other and their feelings about each other, to be fair. Richard feels that he could have been more patient. But at the end of the day, he didn't want to be in this experiment as mates as everybody else did. And I thought, well, if you did start off as mates, because you kind of did start off in a friendship realm which moved to a sexual realm, and then something kind of burst that bubble. Andrea's trying to say it was the situation with the couch, but I think it's more that's gone on since then, or either Andrea's found something else that's particularly interested her and not necessarily Richard. That's why she won't go back to how things were between them, and she don't want to work it out. So to be honest with you, they both confused me. Like, honestly, both of them confused me, and we do say goodbye to Richard and Andrea, and that is where that episode ended. I'll be back in quick succession with the next episode. As I always say, please hit that subscribe button, please hit that notification button, so when you know I'm going to be doing videos, and I'll be back again on your screens very, very soon. Peace out.